dear friends, lovely audiences, welcome to the East West Show. Jack Chow with the East West on the G&E TV programs. Of course, you love this show. We love you. That's why we try everything possible, every time possible, to bring information to you. Those information we brought you, we have been bringing you. Among those, there is one subject of California crazy laws, the frivolous laws and the frivolous lawsuits. Crazy laws that lead to frivolous lawsuits are kind of getting crazy. All right. So to fight against it, we have a friend, my big friend, Mr. Tom Menzel, founder and CEO of PAGA, California Business and Industrial Alliance, founder and CEO, and also founder and CEO for Timely Frame, making doors. By the way, EDI doors are made by them, made of Timely Frame. On the show today with my good friend, Mr. Menzel, we're once again touching base with you. So with that, Tom, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back, Jack. Appreciate it. Appreciate all your support.
Thank you very much. And thank you for recognizing our support. Thank you for being part of the community that cares for the small business, which is the backbone, said to be the backbone of our economy, but we are not treated like that. So that is the problem.
I agree.
I say you're important, but you're not treated importantly. So that is the contradiction. Okay, now, we always say this land, the USA, this land is the land of the free, home for the brave. Okay, now, quite often we see lots of people come here or screaming for the freedom to be one of the free. Okay, let's do it. And we see less of the people who are brave enough to do the fight, right? The reason I respect and I love Mr. Menzel so much is because he has the guts to do the fighting, right? And in my eye, he's a hero. All right. Well, once again, we're talking about the crazy PAGA laws of California, and to lots of my audiences, they might not necessarily know what PAGA laws are. So would you please, or can you please, start by bringing some basic of the PAGA laws so that they know a little bit what we're talking about?
Sure, Jack, thank you.
Just in case they see this program for the first time.
Of course, yeah. Of course. And most people don't understand what a PAGA lawsuit is or what PAGA is until they're involved with one. If I ask other business owners and say, hey, do you know what PAGA is? If they say yes, they've been hit with a lawsuit. If they say no, they haven't.
Yeah. All right. They don't know until they're hit.
They don't know until they're hit. And what you have is you have the California Labor Law Digest is 1,060 pages long. So out of that 1,060 pages, all different sized businesses are supposed to be able to understand and recognize all those laws. And it is almost impossible. So what can end up happening is if any of those laws are violated, and let's just take an example of lunches. Let's say that you have a small company and you have about 10 employees, and maybe it's a restaurant. Maybe you have a small restaurant. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you end up working past 5 hours before you're able to take that lunch. Mm-hmm. Well, the minute you work past 5 hours and don't take that lunch as an hourly employee, then you have violated the law. Mm-hmm. Once you've violated the law, they could seek an attorney, and that attorney would be the Private Attorney General Act, PAGA, and they represent all of the employees, whether the employees want to be represented or not. And what ends up happening is it can turn into a class action lawsuit. Mm-hmm. And these class action lawsuits are not cheap. They're saying right now that they're anywhere between $50,000 to $75,000 per employee.
Ah.
So if I have
a 10.
Yeah, if you have 10 employees,
Uh-huh.
75,000 times 10 could end
No,
up costing
$750,000
you,
or
could
$1
cost you
million.
$750,000.
Yeah.
And people don't understand it. But, you know, the biggest issue is the attorneys understand it. The trial attorneys, and I call them the ambulance chasers, because, you know, this is a very lucrative business for them. You know, it's something as simple as they could seek one of your employees and say, I would like to look at your paycheck stub. And they could look at your paycheck stub, and if the name was spelled incorrectly, you had the wrong week ending date, you had the wrong employee ID number, all of these are violations of labor law.
Those are human errors.
They're human errors.
Yeah.
And nobody is hurt, but they don't have to be. Because once you break the law, then it's enforced, and they allow the attorneys to enforce those laws. It's a license to steal. The state of California has essentially given the trial attorneys a license to steal from good, hardworking businesses.
Yes, I do agree. That sounds a license to steal. And the laws, all right? Okay, we all know that we have pirates on the sea, right? They are there, right? Well, they rob ships from passerby. That's it, right? So now, for that, instead of fighting as a government, instead of fighting to take care of it, you license it, you legalize it,
Right.
right? And you encouraged more of the robberies, of the pirating thing. It's totally wrong, totally going 180 degrees.
Last year, more than 8,000 of these lawsuits took place. More than 8,000. And they're all different size companies and businesses, from small businesses all the way up to Apples and Googles. And the real issue is Apples, Googles, Amazons, they can afford to pay for it. What about the small family-owned business? Can they afford to pay for such things?
So, end of the day, they close the business.
End of the day, they close the business. You know,
Close business.
look at our friend Vincent Passanini. He came on our show. He came on the show.
Yeah.
I say our show, Jack, because I feel like
Oh, yeah,
it's
sure,
ours.
of course. You're part of it.
And you know, he had a company that was in business. He still has the company that's in business since 1947. Employees would come in, you know, earlier, and they would take their lunch at 11. It's something they've been doing for 1947. But they passed the 5-hour window. And once they pass the 5-hour window, an employee takes their paycheck, shows somebody, they find out. Before you know it, cost him probably $400,000 in one sense, and then he had to pay his own attorney. Probably spent $500,000-$600,000. And everybody was satisfied with coming in at 5 and taking their lunch at 11. Nobody ever complained since 1947. But the state decides that's wrong.
Suppose if they pay, now we know Google's, they have money to pay, right?
Correct.
And Walmart, they have money to pay.
Correct.
Okay? Now, how about small ones like you, right? Okay, now, suppose you did have the money, you pay, but who benefit from the money?
The attorneys. Most of the
attorney.
money goes to the attorneys. My favorite case to cite, and I'll keep doing it, is Uber. And a lot of people say, well, you know, I don't know, you know, the independent contractor thing. So they had them as independent contractors. They should have been employees. So each Uber driver got $1.08 each, $1.08 each.
All right.
The attorney, $2.5 million. The company to process all the checks to the Uber employees, that cost $750,000. The state got $3.6 million. And this is a law that's supposed to protect the employees. $1.08 isn't going to do much for anybody. You can't buy a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk for $1.08.
Do you think, Tom, I'm really asking to share your wisdom, though, now that you're a leader of a PAGA, do you think it is quite necessary to do an education to the audiences, to the community members, to make sure that they, number one, understand there is a crazy pirating laws, such as PAGA, right? Number two, do not get involved in any of those. Do not respond in any of those. Do you think so?
Well, what we've been trying to really do is we've been trying to educate our members. We've been trying to hold meetings. All the meetings we have, we don't charge. We'll provide a lunch or a breakfast or even a dinner. We bring in attorneys to tell business owners and companies, this is what you have to watch out for. And again, going back to the real issue is small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses are really the ones that are being targeted, and because they're going to settle, they're not going to fight it. Small businesses can't afford to fight such lawsuits.
Oh, they do not have the money to last.
Yeah, they don't have the resources.
Right.
So we need to educate, and that's
either they surrender halfway,
right,
or they die.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
In other words, if they say from the legislature point of view, either do it my way or do it the hard way.
Yeah.
So the hard way being that they die themselves.
Right. And most people just don't understand. You're absolutely right with the education. There was a recent case that was just, the judge made a ruling and a decision on. And what was a flat rate bonus. And this is really kind of changed the way things have been doing flat rate bonuses for many, many years. How many small to medium-sized business owners are going to be aware of this law change that's active right now? What the company did was, if you came in on a Saturday and you showed up, because a lot of times people don't want to come in on a Saturday, they would give what's called a flat rate bonus. They would pay you $15. Here's $15, we appreciate you coming in on Saturday. Well, what the judge decided is that this calculation, the mathematical calculation for this $15 was incorrect, and it should have been done differently. So what you have to do is, if you get a flat rate bonus and you work more than 40 hours, say I work 41 hours, I have 1 hour of overtime, you have to calculate that $15 into the overtime. Into the overtime. And then you figure out, well, this was
over the years.
This was his hourly rate, okay, for the 40-hour period. It was, instead of 15, now it's $15.03. And what ends up happening is that 3 cents ends up costing the company millions, cost them millions of dollars. And how is somebody harmed over that? And it was a bonus they weren't going to get anyway.
All right.
So these
it's getting crazy, and it's getting crazier and crazier by the minute. We Californians have to do something. It is our own California. It's our own economy. And those brothers and sisters who are owners of the small business, they are the ones who pay your bill. All right. So that's the thing. It's simple like that. With my friend, Mr. Tom Menzo today, president of PAGA, we're touching base with you of the PAGA law situation, how crazy that is, how sick we have been. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Hello, lovely friends, dear my audiences. Welcome back to the show. Jack Zhao hosting the East-West Show with the JNE TV. My guest today is in my eye, is a hero because he does the fight. Like I said just now, I said we call this a land for the free and the home to the land to the free and home for the brave. We see lots of people asking for the free, which is okay. We see less who are brave enough to fight. So Tom Menzo is the other, belongs to the group that who are willing, who has the gut to fight. We're talking about PAGA and the nonprofit organization CABIA, that stands for California Business and Industrial Alliance. Specifically fighting against those crazy laws that try to kill California business, small business. Why I say try to kill? Because you're talking about incentives. Everything you talk about incentive. All right. If I like Tom, I may choose every good word to to indicate to you that Tom is a good guy, right? If I hate Tom, I will do otherwise, right? Now, by the word I choose, you will tell if I do love Tom or if I do hate Tom. Is that a logic?
Doesn't seem like it.
That's a logic.
Is it a logic? I mean,
That's
guess.
simple logic, right?
I don't want anybody to hate me.
Of course, I know. But by choosing the words, though, now,
I know.
looking at California, look at the laws, you will tell California being business friendly or being an enemy of business. So that is simple. That is so simple, right? So now talking about PAGA laws, my friend Tom Mansell was hit, and he is hit, and is still fighting. So I would like to, in this segment, touch base with you about your case update, please.
Sure. So Timely Industries, that company has been in business since 1971.
Okay.
Employs almost 200 employees. We have employees that have been with us for 37 years. The average is about 25 now, 25 years. Mm-hmm. So we have benefits, 401k, profit sharing. We had a flexible work schedule. So you would think that we were doing everything that you should be doing to keep and retain
talent. To me, you're
talent.
doing extra well.
Extra well. Overtime was never an issue. You know, we did whatever we could to get the job done, get the door frame shipped, and take care of ourselves. I mean, 52 immediate family members, 26 extended family members.
Hey, good.
So it's one big family. And again, because of the flexible schedule, you might have some people starting at 5, some people at 6, 7, 5:30, but everybody wanted to take their lunch at 11. So we had a lot of individuals that were later than a half an hour. On top of that, we gave out a safety incentive. Similar to what I said earlier, the flat rate bonus. We gave out a safety incentive. We didn't classify it correctly. We were off by 20 cents on our calculation. Between the late lunches and the misclassification of the safety incentive, it cost Timely $1 million.
So you are being sued.
We were being sued. Private Attorney General Act, disgruntled employee goes and sees an attorney. They represent the entire class. It goes back 4 years because on a class action lawsuit, you can go back 3. PAGA's 1 year. Because of PAGA, it makes it easier to certify the class. But most times they don't get certified. They give you all these penalties. They say, hey, this could cost you $12 million, $26 million, $50 million. But by the time you're done and settled, it's $1 million.
All right. Okay.
It doesn't officially close until October 26th. So this was almost a 2-year process in the making, all over late lunches. Some could have been 10 minutes, Jack.
All right, good. Speaking of late lunches, though, you're talking about every time when you call an attorney to ask me if I have a case, right?
Correct.
He will first ask you, what's the damage?
Yeah.
What is the damage?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, now, if I call, I was hit on the freeway and my car is damaged, right? And do you have any injuries, right? Okay, now, if you do not have, well, of course, the case is smaller, right?
Correct.
Okay, now, if I want to sue you for something else, for example, over a statement, for example, you wrongly make a wrong statement that I feel not happy, right? The attorney would most probably 100% say, what's the damage? You want to see the damage. So I'm asking you, Tom, what is the damage for having lunch 10 minutes late? 10 minutes late than scheduled.
There's absolutely no damage. And again, the issue is
no damage.
The Labor Law Digest is written, and the attorneys are taking advantage of it. And I'll give you a perfect example. So I formed the California Business Alliance, and we'll talk a little bit more about that why in the next segment. So since I formed it, I'm obviously meeting and reaching out to a lot of different people. I was up in Sacramento, and we were doing a meeting. There's actually a person up there where their company is being sued because they have the wrong employee identification number on their check. So for instance, their badge, their time card that they swipe in might say 1, 2, 3, 4. On their paycheck, it says 1, 2, 3, 5. So that number is off. So what they ended up doing is they formed this PAGA lawsuit, class action, realized the numbers weren't matching, and it's going to cost the company $1 million. Nobody was harmed.
For a number.
They got all of their money that they were supposed to get. Everybody got
and
everything.
And there's no damage
None.
at all.
Zero damage.
All right.
$1 million.
Sounds very good. Sounds a very powerful statement in that case, though. What I was thinking of, by following the thought in an attorney way, you will find out when there is a damage, there is a case. When there is no damage, nobody is hurt.
Right.
Who are you protecting? Right?
Yeah.
They're not that's why I'm asking you, did you agree with me when in the last segment I mentioned about the pirating laws, the pirate law?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a license to steal. And the sad part is the state right now, they're not doing anything to reform the laws. They continue to add to them. This year alone, there's 42 new laws that could be possibly introduced.
And yet,
how do you keep up with that?
And yet, do they give you, the violator, quote unquote, time for correction?
No. They say that there's a 33-day time to correct if the name is wrong on the paycheck. But by the time the paperwork comes in from the state, and by the time you get everything, then you'd have to go back 4 years and make copies and get that information out. The cure is almost impossible. So all they have on the books is an impossible cure. I mean, think about this. There's nothing that anybody can do. But again, going back to this reaching out to your audience, right? In the Chinese community, if you own a restaurant and it's a smaller establishment, how are you going to be aware of any of these laws? How are you going to know?
Remember last time, March the 1st, when you were here doing the seminar?
Correct.
That EDI, my business, was co-organizing. How many of the audience get so excited, asking question after question after question. Even after lunch was served, though, they did not even go.
Right.
Well,
and you had people in your audience that had been hit with these lawsuits. But again, they had the larger companies. I'm talking about the mom and pop type businesses. These are the ones that are really, really getting hurt, and it's a shame. There was a gentleman that I spoke with who has a limousine company, a small limousine company. He'd been in business the last 35 years doing this. Him and his wife pretty much had the business sold, but it was stopped because they terminated an employee about 6 months prior to that. And the employee said, I never got my lunches. I never got my breaks. Well, they didn't have a punch in, punch out. So it was an honor system. He was a limousine driver. They had no backup documentation. They're in the middle of this lawsuit. The buyer backed off because they don't want to get involved in the middle of a lawsuit. These people were ready to retire. Retirement's over with now, and it could end up bankrupting this poor man and his wife. And that's what concerns me the most.
That doesn't make sense to me because for a limousine driver, you're talking about a rotating schedule.
Correct.
Right? You're in other words, your life, your time is on the wheel.
Correct.
The wheel moves, time moves, right? Okay, now there's not a certain thing that a driver can stop the car in the middle of a road and I'm starting lunch and I have guests in the car.
Correct.
All right? So this is norm. This is norm.
Yeah, it's a very normal thing, and I don't know how you can hold
very much the basic thing. How can you, the law, hold it up against the people?
Yeah, I mean, let's think about the traffic. Say I want to go to the Dodger game or I want to go to an Angels game, and I'm in the limousine and they're driving.
And you're stuck in the
We're
traffic.
stuck in traffic. You say, well, wait a minute, I got to pull over. I got to eat my lunch now?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And then I'll take you to the ball game a half an hour late.
Yeah, and the boss shall call the guy, say, hey, pull the car to the side, and you start doing lunch.
It's absurd.
And this conversation's on record, okay? I did tell you that you want to eat lunch right away.
Yeah, it's absurd.
What the customer say?
You'd be done. You're done as a customer.
Oh,
That
that's
person doesn't
totally-
get a tip.
It's totally insane, all right? It is a lunatic almost kind of thinking.
That's terrible.
My dear friends, we're getting nowhere, all right? We're getting nowhere. California laws, at this very moment, the quote-unquote labor laws, is kind of crazy. It's so crazy, it protects nobody but the crazy attorneys.
Yeah.
Hungry-
The pirates. You
hungry-
call them
yeah, the
pirates. You're right.
The
They're pirates.
Let's give them a definition for pirates, right? Okay, now with me today, my friend Tom Menzel, founder and CEO of PAGA for the fight against the PAGA laws. But those got tongue twisting. Even the name is tongue twisting. Anyway, so we are touching base with you how severely we are suffering from the laws. Laws in the country of freedom are supposed to protect people. We the people, we the business owners, right?
Correct.
On the contrary, we're being hit, and we're being hit hard by that. Is that good laws or bad laws? You answer the question, right? We may ask a question to the legislators themselves. You tell me, is a good one or a bad one if I die? Something like that.
Right.
Let's take another short break. When we come back, we haven't asked him about the money-wise, and then Tom is facing a big hole, and yet this brave guy is willing to jump in. All right. Okay, be right back, please. Hello, my dear friend, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow on the East West Show, your lovely host with GNE TV, talking about how crazy California labor laws are, in which PAGA is a big thing. I saw the book. It's about this thick, 1,060 pages, right?
Absolutely.
1,060 pages. I wrote 2 books my life, 2 novels, each of them like 400 something pages that I spent a lifetime put together. I'm not even close. 1,060 pages. All right, that's a big thing. Talking about how to kill a business, how to pirate, and how to rob anybody you look around legally, because you are licensed, something like that.
Correct.
Now, my friend Tom Menzel is the one who formed the PAGA organization.
California.
To
fight PAGA.
To fight PAGA, the CABIA organization, non-profit to fight for PAGA, and he has the guts. And not only that, he has the guts, he was hit in a most terrible way.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't have time to ask you just now. I mean, there are different numbers I want to check with you. If you surrender now, how much you end up paying? If you fight till the very end, how much you end up paying?
You'd go bankrupt. You'd go bankrupt. If I tried to fight this lawsuit, I would lose. I would lose in court. You know, it'd have to go to probably like Superior Court, then Supreme Court. You're talking, you know, tens of millions of dollars. And everybody knows that. All the attorneys know that. Not very many companies fight, and the ones that have lost.
By then you'll be gone, right?
Yeah.
When I say you're gone, probably cremated already.
Correct. That's it. Over.
Yeah.
Sprinkle my ashes, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they will go after your ashes.
Yeah,
or
they
something
probably
like that,
would.
right? Okay. What if you surrender?
You try to settle as quickly as you can and
Yeah.
move on.
So
And that's unfortunately that's how people have been trained,
exactly. That's why I'm asking.
and that's the bad
That's
part.
why I'm
More
asking.
people need to fight.
Yeah, exactly,
And the
exactly.
reason that I formed the California Business and Industrial Alliance was simple. You know, we were wronged. What we did was nothing that violated any kind of a law. Nothing. And I reached out to a lot of politicians. They just weren't aware of it. And you reach out to the larger folks. Let's talk about the California Chamber of Commerce. It's a giant organization. The problem is they're just too political. It doesn't fit in.
Yeah,
labor laws are a very small portion of everything that they're out there promoting.
They are too political.
Too political.
They are professional politicians.
Professional. I'm not a professional
It
politician.
is almost a trend that our system, the government system, is being legalized. Is being politicized, right?
I agree.
Politicalized. That's the right word for it. And that's why I have people who are candidates running for different levels. And I found something in common, right? Mr. Joe Shamus, and he says, remove politics out of Congress, right? And I have Mr. Bruce Whitaker of Fullerton running for California Senate.
And he was at our meeting.
Oh, he was, right?
Correct, yes.
He was the other day. March 1st, the conference, right? Okay. Now he says he calls for, I'm doing the job for the benefit for constituents. I'm not a politician.
Right.
I don't like politics, right? And then let's say Mr. Bob Lindsay, who is running for LA County Sheriff, and he says his big slogan is very, very clearly said at the very bottom of the yard sign, says that remove politics of politician out of law enforcement.
Yeah.
So now, we're talking about doing business. What is a politics in there good for?
Yeah, it isn't. And nobody's really focused in on fighting and reforming labor laws. Not just PAGA, labor laws. There's just too many of them. I'll give you a perfect example, Jack. Something you don't know. When I was 14 years old, I was in Detroit, and I got my first job. I actually worked at a Chinese restaurant.
Oh.
Manjin Lao was the name of the Chinese restaurant.
All right.
Great guys. The owners were great guys. This is where I really learned a work ethic. Okay? I would come to work, and it was in the evening. I would take my lunch before my evening started, and as the place got busy, I washed dishes. I was a dishwasher. And we were busy. You didn't even have time to breathe. And then once that rush went through, then you'd sit down and you'd have a break, you could eat whatever you wanted. You could, if I had to take 10 minutes or 30 minutes or 35 minutes, once my job was done and we were caught up, it was okay. And everybody was like that.
All right.
The waitresses, the hostesses, the bus boys, bus girls, everybody was like that. This is getting destroyed here.
We used to be like that.
This is getting destroyed, and it's bad news for everybody. People need to learn a good work ethic. You can't have a good work ethic if, you have to be in at 8 o'clock. You have to take your break at this time. You have to take your lunch at this time. We can't allow you to work more than 10 hours because you got to take another lunch.
I'll give you another example. That I interviewed a member of your CABIA organization, Mr. David Houston, in Pasadena, right?
Correct.
He was sued for overtime.
Yeah.
What happened was that on an employee on a lunch break, they are walking out, whatever, for a cigarette, for some fresh air, whatsoever, and they are stopped by incoming customers, say, hey, where's the restroom, right? And this employee might turn around and say, hey, over there, the second door, something like that, right? That takes about 3 to 5 seconds, something like that. And they put together all the 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And times the day, times the shift, times the day, times the years whatsoever, and end up huge in violation with the pay, the back pay, overtime pay, and the violation penalty pay whatsoever. And Houston says, I have to close it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
Crazy, man. And how crazy we are.
And my feeling is The restaurant workers, they're some of the hardest workers in America.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
And many people start out
I was one.
washing
I was one
dishes.
myself.
Yeah.
I was one myself when I came in those early days.
Yeah, and you work hard, you work extra hours because you want to work up, you want to move your way up. How many people out there started out washing dishes that ended up being cooks, ended up owning their own restaurants because they learned that good, hard work ethic? All of a sudden now, the state of California is taking those opportunities
You never
away.
come here as a king of France,
Correct.
right? You come here empty-handed. You got to work extra efforts, so on and so forth. Now that extra efforts is not being encouraged.
Yeah.
That's the other part. The other part, the whole section, the whole direction pushing is wrong.
Yeah,
Being
just really quickly, there's something to really think about. And I wrote an op-ed about it, and it was printed in Silicon Valley Business Journal. And what it was, I says, Apple Computer actually got hit with a PAGA lawsuit. You imagine if they had these laws back in the 70s when Steve Jobs was starting Apple and he was creating it. How many hours did he work? Past 10, past 12. How many lunches were missed?
He missed, yes.
Correct. Did his garage, did the bathroom, was it 68 degrees or higher? Did he have the right signs? Did he have the right, did he have a labor law digest that long?
Okay.
We are taking away ingenuity and entrepreneurship, and we're trying to restrict it with these laws. There's too many of them. You need to back off. The pendulum swing way too far one way. And my feeling is somebody needs to stand up, wave their hand and say, hey guys, wait a minute, enough's enough. We're drawing a line in the sand. Time to change.
That's someone being Mr. Tom Mansell, right? My icon, my hero.
Thank you.
I proudly say that, and I don't regret. And I'm absolutely right saying that because he has the gut to do so. Let me tell you, when we come back, how much guts he has to either with the case or with PAGA, and then what he's doing now. So stay with us. Hello, my dear friends. Jack Chow on the East West Show, getting a little excited, if not emotional. I call it a passion, all right? Just a passion.
I have a tendency to get emotional.
You're right. You have to have a passion to do the job. You have to have a passion to be right at a time when something is wrong.
Correct.
Right? It may sometimes wrongly be misinterpreted into emotional. However, it is something here that works. I don't care how you call it. Passion, emotion, forget it. I don't care, right? So that thing is that men like him who has founded a job, the opportunity to provide food to more than 200, among which there are 50 something meaning families and singles and people loved each other, people getting married, young or old, whatever. I met one of your employees who served in your company for 36 years.
Correct, yep.
Since
It's
the
on our
family.
show, yeah.
Since the family, right? Okay, now this guy being hit by the PAGA law, so over what? Anybody killed anybody?
No.
So anybody shed blood?
None.
Anybody broke a leg or something?
Nope, no harm at
All right, got a hole in the head? No. Lost a finger? All right, got a kick in the butt? No. Only a few minutes missing lunch.
Yeah.
A joke.
The only ones that's got a hole in the head is a lot of these lawmakers that keep passing these laws. Slow it down.
Oh my God. Okay. So for that, I will let you know using this segment at how exactly in this gentleman, in his the mindset to make him so brave to fight, right? So now you decide to fight, or you are preparing to capitulate?
No way, I'm fighting. I'm going to fight until we see not only real reform to PAGA, we see real reform to the labor laws. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. What's really upsetting on a lot of these labor laws is a lot of people that have influence on them are the unions. And you know what? I come from Detroit, land of the unions. I'm not opposed to unions. If that's what works, then go ahead and do it. Although they make up 15% of the California workforce. Half of that is in state and federal jobs. So you got 7.5% of the workforce creating all of these laws that they don't have to abide, Jack. If I have a collective bargaining agreement and there's prison guards that work at Pelican Bay, they can work a 12-hour shift with no break, no lunch. How are they allowed to do that? Mm-hmm. But a company like ours is 10 minutes late for lunch and it costs us $1 million. Please explain that to me. And nobody is saying, wait a minute, why has this happened? How have we allowed it?
Give you an example, all right? I'm a surgeon, right? And I already finished my job for one morning for one shift. And on my way out, they push in another patient who needs to cut open right now. Right? Am I saying that? No. I'm going to have my lunch because I work with my schedule. I'm not working overtime. I'm right now having my lunch. So is that a right way to do so?
Well, that might sound extreme, and people that are familiar with the law would say this. They would say, well, that surgeon is exempt, so he doesn't have to take a lunch. Mm-hmm. So you have exempt and you have non-exempt employees. Mm-hmm. But let's just take your example a little bit further. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Guess who's involved with a lot of the PAGA lawsuits? The ambulance companies are.
All right.
So the ambulance driver is claiming they haven't gotten their break or they haven't gotten their lunch on time. How are they supposed to follow that law? I pick somebody up who's in the middle of a heart attack, and I need to get them in this ambulance and get them to the hospital right away. I'm supposed to stop for break?
Did anybody go to school for the word ambulance? Why is it called ambulance, not a taxi?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I can't even believe it. I can't even believe the companies, the people that are being sued over violating missing breaks and late lunches.
Okay, now, there are good people, bad people. There are smart thinking, there are stupid thinking, right?
Correct.
Okay, now, sometimes whatever makes sense, when it makes sense, doesn't make sense. I have no problem with them, right? You choose your own way.
Correct.
But things that, when you choose to be so stupid, to that extent though, that gets me upset.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible.
And the stupidity in itself get, number one, legitified, number two, even legalized.
Correct.
Right. So that's the part we can't bear, we can't take on, because this is going south too far,
correct,
too fast, and too far away. Okay, now, speaking of fighting though, there are two ways of fighting, right? And I'm asking you, just sharing your thoughts with me or my audience is, if I hit anything that is not comfortable to comment, you can just stop me and say, no, I choose not to comment.
Sure.
Okay. Now, there are two ways of fighting. Now that you are determined to fight though, one way to fight is to follow the case itself, goes to whatever court it takes, all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States, right? And the other is that to fight with your caveat to change the law from the root cause. So
that's exactly what we're doing.
On what do you choose to do?
That's what we're doing. CABIA is choosing to change the laws.
All right.
We're fighting to change the laws. And you know what? We're not as big as the Chamber of Commerce. We don't have that kind of money. We don't have that many members. I mean, we have a little bit. I think we're at about 100 members right now.
All right. Good. If you say this political game is only a matter of money, though, we have another chip here. So the democracy is a game of voices.
Correct.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
So we can do the fight that way.
That's right.
We need caliber.
More voices.
You have your caliber. I have mine.
Right.
Right. My caliber being that we have the voices. Now, if there is enough vote, though, we can't even recall you. We can't even get you out of the seat. Right. Something like that, right?
Well, I mean, what we're doing right now is we've got a couple of people on staff that we have a lobbyist that's in Sacramento. Right now, we're working on drafting legislation to reform the PAGA law. We have an advertising company, Michael Saltzman. He was on the show before.
Okay.
And we're doing ads and op-eds to educate. We
And
need
May 18th, you have a big event, right?
Yes, we do. 7:30 a.m. at Industrial Metal Supply. Continental breakfast is served.
Okay.
It's going to last till probably 9. And we have Carl DeMaio, and he's from Reform, California, and he's going to be there. He's going to talk a little bit about where he's at on the gas repeal tax.
Gas tax repeal, yeah.
Gas
we
tax
need to
repeal.
that,
And
yes.
he's helped me out. I've been on his show and things like that before. So we work together, So I'm forming allies with people whose heart is in it. It's in the right place, just like yours, Jack. Your heart is in the right place. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on this show.
I like that because I feel that I, as a citizen, I believe that I'm doing my part. As somebody who came here 35 years ago for freedom, for right, I believe I'm doing the right thing.
Right.
And then doing business for that many years, I know what's right and what's wrong, right? You always find an incentive. Is the incentive is going to encourage the economy or not? It doesn't look to me anything is encouraging. Oh, one thing is encouraging though. Ed Trial of 49th District of California Assembly, right? No. Ed Trial has recently made a bill that had come into law that allows exactly how many days I forgot, certain days, time period for corrections for violations like that kind.
Right.
Right. So that probably will be the way to hang on during the time being before we change the laws from the root cause.
Yeah, it just takes time. But again, nobody's really focusing in on it. Again, you've got a lot of trade organizations who are just trying to do too much. I'm worried about the bus line. I'm worried about the high-speed rail. I'm going to name Los Angeles Indigenous Day. They're too broad, and we need to focus on labor law reform.
There are two things I'm going to ask you, doing me a favor. Give me the brochure, the newsletter of your May 18th event.
Okay.
I'll ask my editor to put it on screen. How about that?
Great.
And number two, I believe there are many among my audiences who are business owners, namely small business owners.
Sure.
If they want to join you.
Join our cause.
Yeah.
California Business and Industrial Alliance.
I need some.
I'm not taking any revenue out of it. We're using it for lobbyists, ad campaigns.
I need some website information, whatever.
Our web
on the screen too.
Yeah, our website's www.cabia.org. And here's what I say. We asked for $1,500 for membership. Some people have given us more. We have small business owners in the Chinese community. You've started up a restaurant. You have 5 or 6
Only a
people.
small business, like a flower shop,
You have a flower shop. Okay, join our cause. Send us $100.
Yeah.
Send us $200.
Yeah.
But be members.
Yeah.
Be part of the voice.
Be
part of the
voice.
change.
Yeah, to get involved.
Be involved. Be part of the
involved.
change.
All right, good. Now, like I said, that's only our chip. Our only chip is our voices.
That's correct.
You got to voice out.
And we need more voices.
And the chips, the voice has been proven to be a very effective chip, even more effective than money, because money you have a limit, right?
Correct.
Chips, this chip, the voices, do not have limits, right? Okay, my dear friends, even though we're over time, but I'll ask my editor to cut myself off to keep Tom there, and I like doing that. And with my friend Tom Menzel, founder and CEO of Timely Frame, and also founder and CEO of CABIA, California Business Industrial Alliances.
Got it.
I'm right, finally.
Join us today.
Yeah, fighting for PAGA laws, crazy laws, which have make no sense. After all, in California, you can't just sit there and think about any kind of laws, even the third bathroom laws. Well,
Jack, can I ask one question?
Yeah, sure.
I will tell you this much. If there's a flower shop out there, you can join. Just send Anna, my wife, a dozen roses,
flower.
and you'll be a member.
Very good. All right. How about that? All right. Okay. Well, we'll see you next time. And Tom and I, we will still be on the show talking about the same subject on and on, over and over until the laws are changed. How about that?
I love it.